You sound like you've already done three things before most people even wake up.
That's the thing.
Yeah, I guess that synchronized the swimmer discipline never left you.
No, that's definitely for sure. It's embedded in my body.
Nice. Yeah. I still can't get over the fact that you were taking clients' call during contractions.
Yeah, that's, so some people call me crazy. That's just something that happened. All 3 kids, I was just within contractions, I would answer that phone, so everyone knew I was always available no matter what.
That alone tells people everything they need to know about today's episode.
That's right.
Right. So let's get started. The following is a conversation with Kandace Kalin, former elite synchronized swimmer and founder of O2 Sports Insurance. This is Pre-Zero Sports Talk podcast, and I'm your host, Sid Bensala. Today, we explore resilience, identity, leadership, and the courage it takes to rebuild your life after loss, transition, and adversity. To support our show, please check the episode description. Candice, welcome to the show, and I'm glad we finally made this happen.
Yeah, nice to finally be sitting here and talking to you. Life gets crazy sometimes.
Indeed. So, your story hits several layers at once. It's about sport, family, leadership, loss, rebuilding, and choosing not to stay down when life knocks you flat. Let's start from the beginning. When someone asks you who you were before becoming a CEO, what does your story begin?
I think ever since I was a little girl, I always had big dreams. No matter what I did, I was always hard on myself. I always knew I wanted to be the best at whatever it was I was doing. Um, Started doing multiple sports when I was a young girl to kind of figure out what it was I really wanted to do, what my calling was. Being a sports fanatic, I went into the synchronized swimming. I actually followed my older sister who became competitive before me. And of course, as the middle child, I wanted to follow her lead. So I did. And I went pretty far. And that was just who I was as a person. I was always a driven um, athlete. I was always determined to be the best that I could be. And that kind of has always followed me since I can remember as a little girl to who I am today.
You were 16 when your father passed away while you were competing at the national level. What do you remember most vividly from that period of your life?
Honestly, I don't remember much. I think when you talk about trauma, there's always a void in your life of kind of a gap of when it happened while it's going on. It's just I think your life moves at a fast pace and
Mm.
you don't really know what's going on and what's happening. He was diagnosed when I was 12, so I was a we were three little girls and my mom trying to just navigate and figure it out. I think that when he passed, it hit me harder than I knew it was going to because you don't really know how to handle it or cope with it at that age. So I think that looking back, there was a lot of traumatic moments in my life that I did the best that I could. My mom did the best that she could, and we just stuck
Mm.
together as a family. We were lucky that we had a really great support system around us.
You said before that pain can become a foundation. Can you share a moment where you turned that personal grief into something that served others?
Yeah, I think that I've always just been there for everybody who's went through grief later on in life. I mean, there's not many people in my circle that lost their parents or lost a loved one at 16 years old. So, as I've grown and as I've gotten older, even with our clientele, we have calls, often where somebody will lose a relative or a
Mm.
loved one and so I'm able
Right.
to be empathetic there with them as well where I just feel like I've always been able to just listen and, let them know that it's not ever going to get easier, but we just learn how to live with the pain and the grief. Um, and kind of use that to help others in a way that you can move forward with carrying their legacy with you.
Yeah. What did synchronized swimming teach you about discipline, pressure, and showing up when it matters?
Well, swimming with 8 girls, now it's a co-ed sport, but when I was swimming, it was an only girl sport. So, you learn how to deal and get along with a lot of different personalities. Um, on above and beyond discipline, determination. You don't miss practices no matter what. We were at a level where
Mm.
there was no excuses. You were sick, you weren't feeling well, you were tired, you still had to show up. I think that, when I grew up, I was swimming before school, I was going to school, and then right after school, I would take the bus back to the pool. So we trained 2 times a day before moving to a different city where I then swam um, from noon till 8 o'clock at night some days. So I think that the determination, but also the organization that it teaches you, that you have to be able to train and then do your schooling and then train again and have everything organized, has definitely taught me a huge skill set in which I still use today in my business and my family, making sure that I'm able to take care of my kids, get them to school on time, start my company, take care of them after school. So I mean, everyone looks at me like my life is a bit crazy, but it's kind of what I've always known. So for me, it's the norm. Um, so that's probably
Yeah.
the biggest thing.
Waking up at 5 in the morning and you have to train twice a day, which is a back-to-back training every day, maybe for 5 days or maybe more. Yeah. And I believe that discipline, it comes from there.
Yeah, 100%. And I still do wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and train every day before my kids wake up, just so I have that me time and make sure that I
Mm.
structure my day in the way that I'm starting it taking care of me, but also doing something that I love, and then being able to have the energy to move forward with my day, with my business and everything else. It kind of just sets the groundwork to start a day like that.
Yeah. When you retired from swimming, you said you felt like nobody.
Mhm.
How long did that feeling last?
I think I was for I mean, I don't remember the time frame, but I think you put your whole world into and your whole heart into a sport to then retire. And I remember I had to choose either an education or continue to swim. And so when I went to university and you're sitting in a classroom with 20 people, it's kind of like no one knows who you are, no one cares where you're from, you're just in a class. And I think once I was able to succeed at school and then get a job where I was in a position. I did investor relations for a mining company before going into the insurance industry, and so getting to work with people um, one on one and build relationships. I think once I was able to start learning that my skill set was able to build a relationship with people and business and like minded people, the more I surrounded myself with those people, the more I felt like I was building a new. I wasn't Candace Kalin, the athlete. I was now, um, you know, a respected um, not entrepreneur at that point, but employee that had a business sense as well, that I was able to start building the relationships and surrounding myself with like-minded people, that I really started feeling like, okay, I have something to add here. And I think I'm making a difference in what I'm doing.
Why do you think, Candice, athlete identity is so hard to shake off?
That's all you know. I mean, it depends how long you're in sports, but I was surrounded. I mean, my teammates were my family. We spent so much time together. All of a sudden you have this bond with a group of people and your coaches, and it is your home. You spend more time with the athletes than you do really at home with your own family. So you have your family, but then you have your sports family. And so when you remove yourself from that and you're really just
Mm.
now alone trying to navigate the next step in your life, I think there's a huge void. And there's also, you're not rewarded for when you perform or when you go and get medals. And now it's kind of like, okay, I have to like recreate who I am as a person to figure out what I'm good at. I think the biggest thing for athletes is like, what's my skill set? What is it that I can bring to any table? What is it that I can bring to any company? What am I good at besides showing up to a location or a pool and then doing my
Mm.
routine. That's what I'm good at. I know that I'm good at showing up, but what else am I good at? And so it's kind of digging deep to figure out what is it that you like and love, and where do you feel like you could fit? And that's, I think, a hard thing because you're out of society for so long. You're just kind of in a little sport bubble until that bubble bursts.
Right. Yeah. What advice would you give an athlete listening today who feels lost after sport?
I think the advice I would give an athlete is surround yourself with whoever you want to become. I think I surrounded myself with a lot of business-minded people, big people in business, and that's what I knew I wanted to do. I knew deep down inside I had an entrepreneur within my body, but I think for other athletes, it's taking the time you need to come
Mm.
out of sports, because I think a lot of times, we have clients and employees that throw themselves right into the workforce, and it's like they didn't actually take a moment to like decompress from the chaos that they've been in their whole life, and a positive chaos. But I think also just being able to sit or finding a mentor and saying, "Okay, I don't know what I'm good at, can you help me?" And asking for help, I think, is really great. There's a lot of good companies that help transition athletes transition into business. And I think that's also very important, and I think that that can help a lot of athletes, and work with counselors that help guide you, or life coaches that can help guide you doing that transition.
Can you walk us through the day you were let go? What happened and what was your internal dialogue that day?
Yeah. Yeah, so I worked with a previous insurance company for, I think it was almost 8 years,
Mm.
and I put my entire heart and soul into that business, and it was a family-run company, and I wasn't their family, and other family members wanted to move in, and so they I was wrongfully terminated, and I didn't know what to do, because that's what I was doing was what I loved, and that's what I do today is sports insurance. And so I think that when I was wrongfully terminated, I panicked. I didn't know what to do. But what I did know is that I had a great network of people that I worked with for that many years, that then in turn turned around and called me and said, "You can do this yourself." And
Mm.
obviously, because I was so heartbroken, just because of the way that everything transpired, it was hard for me to hear. I didn't believe it. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't know what the next step was. All I knew was that this is what I really wanted to do. And so sitting there, my parents actually brought me to California, and I did a lot of hikes, and I talked a lot, and I healed a lot. And I just, I remember sitting on a rock on a mountain, one of the hikes that we go on to in California, and just sitting there and just looking out, thinking like, okay, I think I can do this. I know I
Mhm.
can do this. Let me put it on paper of how I'm going to do it. And that's kind of what happened. And, thank God for my parents that they kind of stepped in and saw that I just needed to be loved in that moment.
Was there a moment where you decided, I'm not staying down?
It took a while. I mean, it took a while because it's scary to start your own company. I started from nothing. I think I hid, and doing this podcast is growth for me because no one knew who Candace Kalin was. Everyone's like, "Who's O2 Sports Insurance?" It was like
Yeah.
I was hiding behind a computer because I didn't want people, one, to judge me, or to know or to doubt me and not believe. And I had clients that I called and they said, no, like we'll come and move, we'll come to you when, we can see that you can actually do it. Because obviously a girl starting a business, is it going to succeed? And especially in an insurance
Mhm.
industry, is it going to succeed? Is she
Mhm.
going to flop? Is she strong enough? So obviously you hear that noise in the back, and like picking up a call and having people say like, no, not yet. I don't want to change. I don't want to come to your business, was hard. So I did have a seldom few, but I worked very hard
Mm.
to get new clients, and to build a business like that. So I think at the beginning,
Yeah.
100% the fear just like took over.
Mm. But don't you think, Candice, that for being a pro athlete, training, and when I say training for the listeners here, we're not talking about a couple of hours a week. We're talking about at least maybe 20 plus hours a week to be at the top level, to perform and to put the show. Don't you think all that experience, all those hours, somehow it builds in you some kind of mental resilience to put yourself out there, and I will not say not care what the audience or the spectators will think of you or the team and stuff like. Don't you think all that helps on starting a business or no?
I do, but I think that I mean, I'm in a sports insurance is a niche industry. Everyone knows everybody,
It is.
right? So
Yeah.
it's not like you're selling car and house insurance where there's a million options out there, right? So I think sports insurance in the US is so niche that it's one of those industries that everybody knows everybody. Everyone has worked with somebody. Everyone knows who I am, you know. So my name was really associated with the old company until it wasn't. And so I think that as soon as I became Kandace Kalin, the founder and owner of O2 Sports Insurance, that's when I really knew, okay, my head has been down on this paper. I have worked endless hours through contractions, through everything in my life that I know that I can do it. But I also think that that's like a mantra in my head that I do every single
Mhm.
day. And I think that like it does get easier once you see that your clients and the applications and the business grows and grows and grows. But I also know that every single day I show up saying like, okay, what am I going to do next to make my company even bigger? Where am I going next? So I'm never at
Mm.
that level of like, and I think this is the athlete in me, is that I'm never satisfied with just like okay. It's like I'm okay. Okay, now I'm good. Okay, now how can I get better? So there's always the next stepping stone that I'm thinking about. And like my hamster wheel doesn't ever turn off, and sometimes I wish it could, you know? So I think that that's like it's a pro and a con of just like my brain doesn't
Yeah.
shut off, but I just like I'm always wanting I'm proud of where I am and I'm proud of
Mm.
myself daily, but I also know that like the sky's the limit, so let's just go. And so
Mhm.
my team just
Mhm.
laughs sometimes. I'm like, "Hey, this is what we're doing," and then I'll do it.
Yeah.
And so that's exciting for them because they're a part of the ride too, right?
Yeah.
I think that that's like that's a cool thing
Mhm.
for me as an owner and my team, and they're full of athletes, like retired athletes as well. So they all understand like my drive and my craziness. So that's what makes it fun every day.
I love it. Your craziness.
Craziness.
You told me while building O2, you worked three jobs.
Yeah.
What kept you moving when most people, I think, would have quit?
You know, I think that um it was hard. It was hard on my ego, you know, and but at the same time, when I was working at a gym and I was
Mhm.
checking people in and they were disrespectful to me and I never told anybody what I was building while I was building it. So while I was working other jobs, besides my family and very close people, no one knew what I was doing. I always just
Right.
kept it quiet. So when people were coming in and signing in for a yoga or a boxing class at the gym that I was working at and they were rude to me, I was like, okay, because I was just a somebody, right? It's like I
Mm.
wasn't just a somebody. I was somebody else was supporting me knowing that my dreams were big, but I also giving me a job to help start with those startup costs, right? An insurance company isn't
Mhm.
cheap to start. So I think that working three jobs, I was coaching synchronized swimming morning and night, early morning and late night. And then I was mopping floors at the gym and signing people in. And I just knew that every single day that I showed up in between those jobs, I was building my business. So I think that while I was doing it, financially, I had to do it. And financially, seeing that me work hard at coaching, seeing me work hard at the gym, seeing me work hard doing those other jobs to be able to build what I knew I wanted to do. Financially, it's what I wanted to do because how many companies I went to say, "Hey, can I have a loan for a startup business?" They're like, "No." Can I have a and so being able to do it myself, knowing that yes, I was working 24 hours a day, but I just knew that I was determined to not one day not do it. And I remember talking to a guy who had a successful business and he said, "Candace, I worked a lot of jobs for the first 3 years and then you can finally breathe." And I was like, "Okay." And so I just kept hearing that voice in my head and knowing
Yeah.
that one day I'm not going to have to mop the floors, even though I was so thankful for being able to have that job. And one day I'm not going to have to coach those little girls at night, even though I love those girls and I still have a great relationship with them. But them knowing that I'm building this business while being able to help them as an athlete or, you know, work at a
Mm.
gym, I think I never wanted to quit because I just knew where I was going. I always had like a very clear vision of what I was going to do.
What was the first major win that made you think, I can really do this?
I think that there's two things. Obviously, I had a goal for how much money I wanted in the business account, And so then I said, okay,
Hmm.
I want this amount. And then it was this amount. And so seeing financially that I was becoming more stable for the business, but also seeing applications coming into our website, the phone starting to ring. My husband talks about, like, I remember the first time your phone rang, and I was like it was quiet. And now it's like we have, you know, 5 lines, and it's like I see all the lights red and it's go, go,
Wow.
go, right? So it's like they're all little wins. And I think the first
Yeah.
one, yes, it's financially, but then it's also like hearing the phone ring. And then the second ring, and then the next day, and then the next month, and then being hiring people, and then their lines being busy, and then my emails getting like so it's all like these little stepping stones that have really
Mhm.
accumulated to like the first win. But I would say probably like the phone ringing or more than one application coming in a day from my website because it's all online, right?
Mm. And your first client, if I may ask, Candice, was it through your network contacts or it was organic
Well,
reach?
it was through my networks. Yeah, I think my
All
first
right.
5 clients were from my networks. Yeah.
Mhm. Wow.
Mm.
Nice. What mistake taught you your most valuable lesson early on?
In my company,
Yes.
in probably hiring the wrong people, right? And
Right.
and
Yeah.
honestly, those people were retired athletes, but they
Hmm.
weren't they hadn't healed yet to be able to be working in the workforce. And so it came with a lot of challenges. And I think that that was probably my biggest mistake was because we are online, our employees are all across the US. I'm not a micromanager, but I think that that was the biggest mistake I've made to date is hiring the wrong people.
All right. You hid your pregnancies to avoid being dismissed or underestimated.
Yeah.
What does that reveal about the industry you work in?
Yeah, so I hid my pregnancies not just because the industry, but because we're cover holders of Lloyd's of London. There are a
Mm.
lot of high up people. There are very respectful people, but the market of insurance is, as you know, very male dominated. As much as women are still taking over some space, but it is a
Mhm.
male dominated industry. And when I became a cover holder of Lloyd's of London, I was pregnant with my second, my beautiful son. And I hid it because I didn't want them to say no. I didn't want them to say, we can't give Candace what she wants because she's pregnant and maybe won't be able to handle it. Or, maybe with a baby, she's not, and it was my second, but maybe
Right.
she won't be able to deliver. Or all of
Mhm.
the all of the notions in my mind were like, you're not going to give me an excuse and you're not going to be able, I'm not going to give you an excuse to say no to me because you're not going to say no to me because even if I'm pregnant, even if I have a
Wow.
baby, I'm going to do it. And so I didn't want them to have anything in their minds to or a reason for them to say no to me because I was ready for it. I was ready for the challenge. So when they found out that when I had to have a meeting with the people from Lloyd's of London, they're like, "What do you mean you just had a baby?" And I was like, "Well, I had a baby." But so then when I met with them in person, they're like, "Well, why didn't you tell us?" And
Yeah, you didn't say anything.
no, they got mad. They're like, "Why didn't you tell us?" And I said, "Because I wasn't gonna give you a reason to say no to me." Because I knew in my heart that there's a lot of men in the space and there was a lot of
Mhm.
people making decisions on behalf of me, and I didn't want you to ever say, no because she is going to be having a baby or no because it's going to be too much for her because it's not too much to me. And when it's
Mm.
maybe I don't know what too much is because I'm just that's not in my DNA, but I just didn't want that to be a conversation or even to cross
Yeah.
their minds because I knew that I could do both and I did do both. And so they laugh about it still. We meet all the time and they just shake their head at me like, only you, Candace. And that's usually what comes across people's minds. And what they say to me, only you, Candace, only you. And I'm like, yeah, I'm one of a
Yeah.
kind.
Yeah.
But I
Wow.
didn't I didn't want it to be I didn't want to ever have something not
Yeah.
didn't want somebody not to believe in me because of being a woman, but also because I was having kids.
What advice would you give women navigating male dominant spaces?
Um, just do it. I think be yourself. Don't be scared to voice your feelings or your opinions in a professional and proper way. But I think it's okay for us to take up space. And I think it's okay to make it known that women are very intelligent. And I think a lot of
Mm.
women dumb themselves down because they feel intimidated in front of men. And I think that's one of the reasons, one thing I will never forget about my dad was when I was a little girl at Subway ordering and there was these cute boys in front of us and I started giggling and a bit immature, 100% immature. And we got in the car and he's like, just because you're a girl doesn't mean you have to be dumb. And
Right.
it stuck with me because it's like, just because I'm a girl, just because I'm in a space with men doesn't mean
Mhm.
I have to dumb myself down. To the contrary of showing them how smart you are, showing them how capable you are. And so I think that in a space where it's male dominated or not, I think it's let yourself shine because I think women are way more respected when they voice themselves in a proper manner.
Yeah. But then hear me here, Candice. I've been talking on this podcast about gender equality, mainly when it comes to the hot topic as same pay,
Mhm.
mainly in sport, And honestly speaking, whoever I talk to, there is not one a single good answer. We were making some examples about the U.S. Soccer women team that, for the first time of the history of the game, the U.S. Women's soccer team, they managed to get equal pay, and they had to fight for it. You know. Now, listening to you and your story and the way you explain it beautifully about trying to hide your pregnancies for the sake not to give the male colleagues a reason to say, "Ah, no, maybe we cannot put too much load on her," and stuff like that. What's your take when it comes to equal pay?
You know what? I know a lot of women. I mean, it's different obviously in the sports world than it is in the business world, but I know a lot of women who make a lot of money. Um, Maybe not equal to the male, but I know you see the growth in women's sports, the growth in women entrepreneurs, the growth in women business owners is growing, especially in the US. And so I think that more women that start their own businesses, the less we're going to have conversations about the equal pay. Or the more that the women are doing for education for themselves or the development or the certificates or whatever. I see that the women, I don't think it's as much as a male and women issue as much as it used to be, just because I do see a lot of women entrepreneurs coming out that we didn't maybe see 20 or 30 years ago.
Having been let go from a toxic environment in your previous job, what kind of culture do you want to build at O2?
I think the biggest thing is I'm not a micromanager, and I think I remember sitting and getting emails being resent to me, being like, "What's this? What's this? What's this?" While they were going through my emails, sending them back to me,
Mm.
kind of like there was no trust, there was no transparency, and I think my goal of being an owner and being a manager as well and a mentor to my employees. We have senior underwriters and then we have junior underwriters and younger people coming into the space. I think number one, I don't want to micromanage. Number two, it needs to be a safe space. But number three, I really check on my employees. We've set up monthly meetings to check on their mental because I
Mhm.
think that being mentally okay and in a space and happy, right? Like, are you happy? Is there something that I can do for you that you need from me? We meet twice a week as a team. And that's what I always say. Do you have anything for me? Do you need anything from me? And I think that's important because I think that when you have these other companies where the owner is never there or no one has anyone to talk to, they don't really feel heard. We had a review for one of our employees and she had worked with previous online businesses remote as well. And she's like, I never really
Mhm.
felt like I was a somebody or that I was making a difference. She's like, with this company at O2 Sports Insurance, I feel like I have a say. I feel like I have friendships with people, even though we're not in the same city, we're able to connect on a personal level. And I sat back and I was like, thank you for saying that because I really try hard, whether we're in the same city or not, to be able to connect with every one of my employees to make sure that they know that I'm there for them. Um, as a mentor, as a boss, you have to be careful with the friendship word because you want them to still, you still have to be the boss. But I
Yeah.
think it's important, and I think that that's one thing that I didn't ever have. I didn't have somebody that I could really, like, feel comfortable in, and it wasn't, like, a safe space. So that's the environment that I really have, and, I always make sure, "Did you guys go for a walk? Did anyone exercise?" Like, if it's crazy, I'll tell them to take 10, 20 minutes, a half an hour, whatever they need to go and just regroup outside, get some fresh air, see the sun. If there's no sun, get some fresh air,
Mhm.
right? Because I think that that's important, and I think that
It
the
is.
morale and the energy that all of us bring to the business is important, and so everyone has to be mentally well as happy in what they're doing in the space that they're in.
Let's talk about the sports insurance. I've been dealing with this since ever and still now. What do most athletes and parents misunderstand about sports insurance?
Yeah, so I mean, it depends on the sport, right? And pickleball, for example, is a brand new sport in the insurance
Hmm.
space, newer than other sports. And so I think there's a lack of education of what's needed, what's required. Every facility, venue, and location requires a specific type and level and limits of insurance. Where a lot of the parents are volunteers and they're doing this on the side just to help their kids' soccer team or baseball team or a new organization is being set up. So I think the education part is really the number one misconception, which is why we really focus on answering the phone, responding to emails, because everyone needs help. And a lot of our competitors are online, but there's no one to answer the phone. You'll call and no one will answer. And I know that because we've done research analysis on it. Um, and so I think that's really the one misconception that everyone has is what do we need? And also not buying more than what you need if you don't need it, right? So a lot of companies will just sell you everything and anything, but it's like it needs to be
Hmm.
specific to what you're doing, to the venue's requirements, to making sure you're properly covered if there's ever a claim for a medical insurance or liability or a slip and fall or whatever it may be.
Have you covered extreme sports?
Extreme sports?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was one of our, let's say, difficult because we did many power boating
Yeah.
events and some extreme activities and stuff like that. And the only one that could support and help it was Lloyd's
Yeah.
London.
Well,
Yeah.
and so we have a water sports program as well, which is another niche part of our market. Um,
Mhm.
and Lloyd's trusts me with it because I've had so many years of underwriting in this specific market. Um, so it's all the boats, the yachts, jet skis, jet cars now, which are a big popular thing. So jet cars
Yeah.
are way safer than jet skis. So um,
Yeah.
but it's all about the risk management and how everyone runs their company for sure, because the waterways are getting way more congested every year.
Yeah. Can you share a case or a moment where O2 made a meaningful difference for someone?
We've sponsored swim outs for kids that have passed away, um, for the families. I think that that's probably
Mhm.
one of the most heartfelt ones. A mom lost her son to a pretty crazy disease. They had a
Boy.
huge swim out in California, and they couldn't afford it. And so I took care of the costs to make sure that they were able to do a celebration of life for her son. And then emails and the letters that came in after just thanking me to be able, obviously no one else wanted to help her. Um, but I also know, so talking about grief and loss and that
Right.
moment of chaos in your life and your family, there was no way I wasn't going to step in and help her. So I think, we sponsor teams that have, you know struggles with families with financial situations, and we'll sponsor the teams. We did a team in one of the colleges in Florida where a lot of the athletes were coming from other countries that were coming with backpacks with no clothes. And they had no money, but they were good athletes and they were good soccer players. So I had met one of the directors at one of the pickleball events I was at, and he was talking. He said, "Would you guys do any sponsorships?" And kind of explain what was going on, that these girls
Mhm.
didn't have clothes and they were paying out of pocket. And so I was like, "Oh no, like I'm not, I will, they asked for monetary money and I gave them more than what they asked for just to make sure that
Right.
the athletes had, you know, clothes that they could wear and shoes and everything like that. So I definitely think that O2 makes an impact on not just the like sad stories or the athletes that are coming with nothing, but also the organizations and programs that are financially stable, but just, partnerships and sponsorships are something I always wanted to give back. That's one thing. The bigger
Mhm.
we get, the more I get back. And that's what I've always wanted to do.
Good. Thanks for sharing, Candice. Let's shift gear and talk about parenting. You said you want your kids to see the world, but still earn their way.
Yeah.
How do you balance that?
Well, it's a challenge. It's it's not easy. I think that I bring my kids as many places as I can so that they can see the world and how fortunate they are. And I also miss them. I'm very connected to my kids, and traveling alone is fun, but it also causes a huge void in my heart. I knew that I always wanted kids, and I always wanted to be able to do something where I could bring them with me. My mom and my stepdad usually come with us, and we'll take them to museums. And my mom was an assistant principal, so she's been with kids her whole life. So 3 is a walk in the park for her. So, but they get to see the world, and they get to go to museums
Yeah.
and zoos and see so many things in different countries and cities. And so I'm very fortunate for that. But I also think that there's has to be, I make them do their chores. And I mean, they're still young, but they would do their chores, and then they get their money in their piggy banks to be able to buy things.
Mhm.
So spoiling them without overdoing it and making sure that they appreciate the things that they do have. There's a fine line for sure. And I think that
Yeah.
there's months where I'm better about it than others. Christmas is coming up, so there's a lot of no's, and that you have to write it to Santa.
Yeah, you
You
have to wait.
know? You have to be good. Santa's
Yeah.
watching. So
Put it on the wish
yeah.
list.
So that saved me a lot of no's this season. So,
Yeah.
but I have 3 beautiful, healthy, and very kind kids, and they love working, they like doing their chores, they like helping me. So, I've really tried to ingrain that in them, that, the harder you work, the more you'll get. And they understand that, and they
Mm.
know what mommy does. And so they support that as well. So it's pretty cool. It's a fun place to be. And I can work from home too, so they can see what mommy does at
Yeah.
nighttime when I have to work.
How do you teach them resilience without projecting your own past into them?
Uh,
Because you said something very important. Sorry to cut you,
yeah.
Candice. You said there is this fine line between spoiling them, and we all went through that. Even me, I have 2 boys, 19, and yeah, 19, he's still a boy, and the 16. But yeah, spoiling them, it's a big word, but we do it with good intention. Sometimes we do it blindly, and we don't calculate the impact, you know. But in the same time, we try to teach them this resilient, that grit as well. We ask ourselves, can we even teach grit?
Mhm.
And the only way to do it is through setbacks and through failures. And sport is one of the
Yeah.
best tools.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we have our kids in sports, and I think talking about like the spoiled, what I do now is that if they want something new, I tell them they have to give one of their other toys to kids that don't have anything. And so they know that, okay, you want this. Well, what can we give to others that they don't have? So we donate a lot of our clothes, our toys, everything to make space for new, but also to give back to if they're not playing with something, I'll say, okay, well, what about do you think we can give this to the kids that don't have anything? And okay, yeah.
Mhm.
So teaching them that like you can't just have everything and keep getting. We have to give as well. And I think that's one of
Right.
the things. And they're good with it. Like, I mean, I've been doing it since both of myself and my husband have been doing it since they're little. But I mean, it helps declutter the house as well. But it's like, okay, let's see what else we can give back. And we do. And I give so much away to make sure that they can see, okay, we're giving this to the kids that don't have anything, or this we can give away, even if they don't get something new. We always do that, and then we go in and drop it off to places where kids can use their
Yeah.
stuff that's perfectly good, but they just don't play with it anymore. So I think, and then the resilience part, I put them in sports, and I know we talked about swimming lessons, and it kills me to be up in the stands knowing that I can coach my kids better than the instructor. Sometimes I'm like trying not to move in the stands and like, you know, but I go downstairs and I tell the coaches, like, listen, I was an athlete, I was a swimmer. I'm noticing my daughter's doing this. I don't want to be their coaches. I want to be their mom. And so, it's kind of like it's
What's the reaction,
switch
Candace?
of like, but gently just tell them what they need to be fixing, and then they listen. And I'm not trying to overstep my boundaries, but I also
Yeah,
I don't want to be everything. I want them to be learning that. And so, gymnastics too. I did gymnastics a part of before synchro, but I was too tall, so I couldn't go very far. But I love gymnastics, and so all my kids are in gymnastics and ninja, and they're great. And I just, I get to be there, but the coaches just kind of watch me with my little one because she's still too little to go by herself. And I'm coaching her and teaching her how to do all these things. And the coach is just like, okay, this girl knows what she's doing.
yeah, yeah. And the kids, do they mind
Love it.
seeing you
Oh,
there?
they love it.
On, yeah,
They love it. They love
yeah. Lucky you.
yeah, they know they all the other ones want me to be with them too. And I'm like, nope, you have your coach. The little one's too small to put by yourself. So no, I mean, if they could, they'd love me to be their coach and to do everything because I try to make it fun. I didn't like going to the pool when it was not fun, right? So everything I
Yeah,
do, I try to put a little fun twist on the activities we're doing, whether it's homework or sports. Yeah.
fantastic. Where do you want O2 Sports Insurance to be in 5 years?
Yeah, that's a good question. I just had that when I had my meeting with Lloyd's last month.
Mhm.
I think what I mentioned earlier is the impact on how many organizations, how many nonprofits we can sponsor, and I want my name to be out there, but also respected in a way that like O2 gives back. And as much as I want it to grow for all of our business, and it will, we're going to continue growing and going into new markets and associations. That's where I love working with the bigger organizations and associations as much as the small team,
Mhm.
just because I can help the risk management of the organizations and associations to go in and I go to their events, or my team will go to their events and help them, making sure that they're doing everything properly. The venues, it's safe, and the spectators, everything is, there's no places that they could fall into holes or whatever. Um, so I want to continue growing it at that pace with organizations and associations, but I also want to continue to give back, and people to recognize that as big as we get and as much money we make, we're going to give back. And that's, like I said, that's always been my goal of giving back or helping athletes that don't have anything, to be able to continue living their dreams. Because I think that if you have the skill set and it's just the financials, that's the issue. I think that that's a really hard place to be in.
Mhm. And beyond business, what kind of legacy do you hope your kids remember you?
I think I think memories. I just want my kids to have memories with me. And I think when I talk back about my dad, like he passed away when I was 16, but the amount of things we did as a family, the amount of places, Disneyland, Universal, I can still picture him giggling as a dad, and I think that having fun with my kids, but also remembering that we had so many fun memories of all the places we went, or even if we were just at home, watching TV together, remembering those moments where mom was really present. And I think it's important that I'm really present with my kids. And as much as I work hard when I pick them up at nighttime before dinner, there's no emails, there's no phone until they go to sleep. And then sometimes I have to answer an urgent email or phone call. But 99% of the time when I'm a mom, I'm being a mom. And when I'm working, I'm working. And so I really focus on trying to be present with them all the time to be able, I mean, I'm not perfect, but to be able to know that they have those special memories together with me.
You're listening to the Pre-Zero Sports Talk. For more conversations on sports leadership, faith, performance, and innovation from Sweden to the world, visit prezerosportstalk.com. Great. Now it's time for our lightning round.
Okay.
Good. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Morning person or night owl?
Morning person.
A quote you live by?
A quote. Um, the hardest part is showing up. I think
Mhm.
that's my quote.
Love it. A place that instantly resets you.
Hawaii.
Nice. One lesson life had to teach you twice.
To say no.
Ah, that's hard.
I think it's more
It's
the
hard to
choice.
say no. Yeah, I fully agree with you. Your favorite city to visit for work?
London.
Oh, okay. A book that stayed with you.
Mm, probably I Love You Forever.
Mhm. A hidden talent.
Um, I can talk like Daffy?
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. A best way to unwind after a long day or a tough week.
Probably a spicy margarita or healthier, a sauna.
Okay. The last time you stepped outside your comfort zone.
Probably last week I went to a sports summit by myself.
Okay. What your kids think you do for living.
O2 Sports Insurance.
And and that's clear for them.
Yeah.
There is no question
Well, I
mark.
work with athletes in pickleball because I've done so much pickleball. They know it's mommy does pickleball.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a fantastic guest 2 weeks ago. He built pickleball courts in Las Vegas, and a fantastic gentleman.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
it's we I love doing I'm in the sport and it's one of my favorite. The people are
and it's
It's
booming.
crazy. It's the number 1
Yeah,
fastest growing sport in the US, but it's the we talk about the difference in pickleball and other sports, and it's the community. It's the community of no matter
mhm,
where you are, if you have a paddle, you can pick up, you can go play.
yeah,
It's just it's a social space, but it's also competitive. It's amazing too on the professional stage, and the events are mind-boggling, the MLP and the PPA. But I also just feel like the people that are in the space of pickleball are kind. It's a very kind sport, and it's a
right.
great place to be.
Yeah. A moment you felt proud as a parent.
My daughter's last report card. It was amazing. I wanted to cry. I was like, "Good job."
Your favorite sport to watch today.
Diving or pickleball.
Ah,
Diving and pickleball. Those are my 2 favorite sports to watch.
okay. Now, before I continue with the rest of the lightning round, tell our audience about the poster behind you. I think it's a canvas.
Yeah.
So we see Lewis Hamilton, we see Ronaldo, we see a boxer. Not sure, maybe Serena on
Mike Tyson, yeah,
Tyson, yeah,
Hamilton, Michael Jordan,
Michael Jordan,
yeah,
yeah,
Ronaldo, and Serena Williams.
yeah, and no swimming like Michael Phelps or
Yeah, this is, a
it's
yeah,
beautiful, really
it's one of
nice.
my 2 one of ones, and it's Vladi, Vladi art, and he made it
Hmm.
for me for O2, and it's all of the athletes that have really inspired me. Um, they are my favorite athletes, and just resilience, determination, all the sports I love to watch. Um, yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah,
Beautiful.
thank
Really nice. Do you follow Formula One,
I
Candice?
do. My husband's a pretty crazy fanatic too.
So who do you think is going to win the championship?
Um, maybe Norris, who's up there.
Nor-
I don't know. We'll see.
I I think so. I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah. Candice, if you have an opportunity to have a dinner with a historical figure, who will it be and why?
Hmm. Maybe Lewis Hamilton. And why?
Ah.
Um,
Mhm.
I think that as much as he's won, he's failed and he keeps going. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, there's the monetary piece of it, but I also think that it's hard to continuously coming back after not
Mhm.
being number 1 when you have been number 1 in the past for so many times. I think, I think that goes with a lot of people. I think that failure doesn't failure doesn't represent who you are as a person. I think that it talking about resilience, I think that he has
Mm.
a lot of resilience, and I admire that about him.
Mm. And he's a nice person. He's really a gentleman, a great gentleman, actually. The way he handled when he lost the championship 21 to Max was absolutely
Yeah,
amazing.
it's professionalism. It's not it's
Yeah.
he's very classy, and I think that that says a lot.
One word that describes your life right now.
Content?
And lastly, a piece of advice or wisdom to our listeners on any topic.
I think today's your day to start something new.
Nice. Candice, thank you very much for sharing your journey and your insights on resilience, identity, leadership, and rebuilding after loss. It has been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
And to our listeners, I want to end with a quote that echoes your story, Candice. Maya Angelou once said, "You may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated."
Perfectly said.
And I think your life is a living example of that. We want to thank you for joining our show. If you enjoyed this episode, we have more for you. You can now watch the entire episode on our YouTube and Spotify channels. While you're here, subscribe and don't forget to tap the bell. Visit prezerosportstalk.com to explore more conversations on sports, leadership, faith, performance, and innovation. From Sweden to the world. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and make a difference. We'll see you soon. Take care.